When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. There's a tremendous bias against taking risks. Everyone is trying to optimize their ass covering. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. I don't think it's a good idea to plan to sell a company. It is a mistake to hire huge numbers of people to get a complicated job done. Numbers will never compensate for talent, and getting the right answer will tend to slow down progress and will make the task incredibly expensive. A company is a group organized to create a product or service, and it is only as good as its people and how excited they are about creating. I do want to recognize a ton of super talented people. I just happen to be the face of the companies. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. If you're co-founder or CEO, you have to do all kinds of tasks you might not want to do. If you don't do your chores, the company won't succeed. No task is too menial. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. I always invest my own money in the companies that I create. I don't believe in the whole thing of just using other people's money. I don't think that's right. I'm not going to ask other people to invest in something if I am not prepared to do so myself. I've actually not read any books on time management. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future, and wondrous, new technology where you see it and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. What makes innovative thinking happen? I think it's really a mindset. You have to decide. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. Being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less, because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I think most of the important stuff on the internet has been built. There will be continued innovation, for sure, but the great problems of the internet have essentially been solved. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness to make sure it continues into the future. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with a horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. When somebody has a breakthrough innovation, it is rarely one little thing. Very rarely is it one little thing. It's usually a whole bunch of things that collectively amount to a huge innovation. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise life and your job is gonna be quite miserable. You have to say, well, why did it succeed where others did not?